Okay, so as we go through therapeutic factors through interpersonal action. So what that means is we're attempting to relate constructively with each other and adaptively within the group. So how do we relate constructively and not, tear each other down or apart or anything like that? How do we relate constructively and adaptively within the group, either through initiation or responding to other group members? How do I put myself out there? How do I be vulnerable? All of those things too. And then how do I respond to others in an encouraging way, in a building up way, or it's not always going to be that. What if we have differences of opinions or differences of races or differences of whatever it is, in the community or whatever? How do we respond to each other in a way? Maybe there is anger. Maybe there is issues with that. Or how do we learn to respond in ways that we haven't ever responded before? And these are new ways. So oftentimes this occurs when initiating new behavior with other members in the group. So you could just imagine being in a group of people you don't know, initiating something vulnerable, and then or somebody else has initiated something that's vulnerable. How do we respond to them? Right? You can imagine the tension that there is. But within groups, as you move along through the stages, hopefully that tension is a lot less and the openness and vulnerability and all that is a lot more. Okay, that's what we're striving for, those therapeutic factors. Okay. Guidance in therapeutic factors, the leader or a group member will give information or directly give advice to another group member. That's guidance. Here's one thing that you can think of. Okay, you may give advice and all that stuff too, or you may be just like in counseling. You guys have been with me long enough that I say I want them to figure out what the issue is, right? So you're giving them ways of making those connections themselves and learning about themselves and learning about others. So we're giving them that opportunity in the environment to be able to do that without us giving everything to them. Because if, you want them to take ownership. So the leader or group member will give information or directly give advice to another group member. That's guidance, right? And so you'll have people within this group that can say, hey, this happened to me. This is how I got out of it, or this is how I dealt with the issue. I'm wondering if that will help you. So that'd be guidance from another group member. Insight, so this is a big part of the therapeutic factor, right? So learning about yourself through feedback and personal reflection. What's that mean? Let me throw that out there. What's learning about yourself through feedback and personal reflection mean? What's personal reflection mean?
It's kind of that time you take to process whatever you're dealing with.
Hmm. Personal reflection, absolutely. Reflecting on where I've been, where I'm going, how am I going to get there? And then learning about yourself through feedback. It's not only feedback from my own personal reflection, it could be feedback from others, right, Erica?
Yeah, I was just thinking that It's kind of um, knowing how people see you and then how you see yourself and kind of comparing. Sometimes we see ourselves and then we have feedback from people, and that's not the way that they see us,
Oh, that's so
or
good.
vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're only looking through our own lens, right? And so we may
Mhm.
have a perception of ourselves or others, kind of what's that look like, right? That's good. So learning about yourself through feedback and personal reflection. This includes learning how you come across to others, learning about the nature of a problem as it manifests itself relationally with group members, and why you behave the way you do and how you got there. So that's the feedback that you get. Okay. Maybe we learn about ourselves that we're abrasive or we are people pleasers and we come across wishy-washy or whatever it is. How do I come across to others, right? Is what we're looking to figure out. Because remember, this is a smaller picture of the bigger world outside. Therapeutic factors, acceptance and cohesiveness. So, acceptance is a personal feeling of belonging in a group. Okay. It's that warmth, friendliness, comfort, and feeling valued by others. That's what we're always striving for, right? We want, you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So, um, what it kind of looks like is, you have that pyramid, and then the bottom two rungs of that pyramid, it's food and shelter, and then safety, security. And if we're in those two things, that's where we're surviving. We're just surviving if we're in those. When we start thriving is when you hit the next three that are going up, meaning belonging, higher self-esteem, and then self-actualization. So as long as we're climbing up that ladder, that's we're starting to thrive more. Okay. Um, and we're always looking for acceptance. Not everybody, and that's where maybe some of these personality disorders come in to play. Some people, they aren't looking for acceptance. They don't care about acceptance, right? So, um, anyway, but generally, healthy individuals are always, we're looking for acceptance in something. Okay. Cohesion, on the other hand, indicates a group perception of togetherness. So it's just not what I perceive, it's what the whole group perceives, and that's the cohesiveness of that group. Cohesiveness is a precondition for other therapeutic factors. So your group's not going to grow unless there's that cohesion. It won't grow. You'll be stuck in one stage the whole time unless there's some form of cohesion. And that even could be cohesion between certain group members and not all of them. That's not always healthy. Actually, that's probably just as bad as not. You want the whole group to have that cohesion. Acceptance is unlikely without that group cohesion with one another. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, when you're talking about like the cohesiveness, how do you say the word? Okay, the group being integrated. It's there is a number in the group that would make this easier to have. Like when you say that maybe some members of the group will get more connected, but I believe that it maybe is a smaller group. It's maybe easier to have this integration with the whole group, or I don't know, there's a number that would be like the best number or the maximum number.
You mean for the whole group?
Thinking about that, yeah.
For the whole group, yeah. So generally a good size, is that what you're kind of asking?
Yes, yes.
For to gain cohesion is generally anywhere 6 to 12, but 8 to 10 is really good. Eight is probably
Oh,
the would be, and the reason is because too many people. Okay, so this is even from personal experience. So I started this group my very first year of counseling at Abundant Life. Started this group and I had 20 couples in it. And here's
wow.
what I found out. So I had these 20 couples, and then I would try to get this participation going. Nobody wanted to participate. Why is that, you think? 20 different couples, nobody wanted to participate. Why is that?
It's intimidating, probably, to many people.
Yeah.
It's also easy to assume someone else will respond when there's more people.
Mhm.
Great. That's all. Yeah, absolutely. Both of those are good. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Who else is thought of?
And then it's almost impossible to have a cohesion with 40 people, 20 couples. It's
Yeah.
too large, too groups too big. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever sat in a classroom and your teacher asks you a question? She says, "Okay, raise your hand if you have the answer," or whatever. And it's a lot easier with 8 people than it is with 20 people because you're like, "Well, I don't want to appear dumb to 20 people," things like that, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, the intimidation factor, like you guys were talking about, um, yeah, so many factors can go in it, right?
I would say it's easy to blend in.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's easier to blend in to the woodwork and not, yeah. So that's the one thing that I learned. I had 20 couples, met 40 people. It was terrible. It was terrible. We made it through. It was like 10-week class, I'm like, oh man, this is just 10 weeks of, all this. So then I made it smaller. So the next year I ran it. I just did, I worked with, it was 6 or 8 couples, I can't remember. And it was perfect. It was a perfect size. And everybody worked together. There was that cohesion, all of that stuff too. So just you'll always be experimenting, but read about it, read about group sizes and all that stuff too, depending on what you're going to put together. If you want them to maximize participation, how many people should I have? And here's one other thing is, yeah, you just don't want too large a group, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so self-disclosure, we learned about that in all of our classes, right? We always learn about self-disclosure. So self-disclosure is the act of revealing personal information about yourself to the group. So if you are a leader, right, we may do that every once in a while. And here even in as I'm leading you through this, class, I had self-disclosure on different cases, right? And so it's just so we can relate to each other, right? So I want people to know I get you. When you say you have anxiety about something, yeah, I have anxiety too. I get you. And there's that where that cohesion comes in because remember the guys walking through the airport and they had the Chiefs hat on. There's cohesion, automatic cohesion there because they were together and there was that commonality, right? So that's what we're always looking for. This may take the form of giving feedback about your experience of others in the group too. Okay. So example would be When you raise your voice, I immediately think you're going to hurt someone in the group. And I think I better stop talking or it will be me. So if you have somebody that's a bully in the group or whatever, they don't know it or whatever, maybe they're that type A personality and they're gruff or whatever, and they said, this is just the way I am, right? Um, but if they were to raise their voice, others may just back off, right? And maybe you have. So what's a good group leader do if you have that one person that's in the group, right? We're going to learn about that. But what does a person do who's maybe talks a lot in the group or whatever? What's a good leader do in those instances? And we'll go through that. But that's self-disclosure. When you raise your voice, this is what happens to me. I wonder if that happens to the rest of you, things like that. So that's immediacy with self-disclosure. It can also be your reaction to others' feedback of you, right? So an example would be when you said that I come across as manipulative, I wanted to attack you instead of accepting your feedback. Ooh, that's a little dangerous, isn't it? Um, but you're giving a reaction to others' feedback to you, right? So I'm wondering, as a group leader, how do you handle that when somebody, maybe two members are kind of at odds with each other? What's a good group leader do in those? Well, you want to process that with each other. Okay, tell me more about that. And just help them process through what that means. It could even mean processing through history. I had a family member that did this to me, so that would automatically mean that I would shut up and blend into the wall so I wasn't seen or whatever. Okay. How do reactions to others' feedback affect you, affect other group members, and so on? Okay, catharsis. So what that is, emotionally releasing feelings that you're having as you experience them in a group. Very important. A lot of tears could come, a lot of deep breaths could come, a lot of, but it's always this release of some feeling that you're getting. This communicates trust. When I have tears, being vulnerable, all of those things, this communicates trust with others and develops that emotional intimacy that I need or that other groups need amongst the other group members. And it also brings this personal relief that we have. You guys have all experienced some form of this where I have felt better, especially when somebody gets me. And maybe it's through counseling, maybe it's through group counseling, maybe it's through friendships. Okay. An example would be, I am scared to say what I feel for fear of being hurt. I got that out there, right? I may have fear if I'm vulnerable. And gosh, all this that comes over me when people accept me and all of that, if we work through and have cohesion with one another. Catharsis. Always looking for that. Okay, so group leader functions. What does that look like? See me execute emotion. See me execute emotion. So caring, meaning making, executive function, so regulation, things like that, emotional stimulation. That's what group leaders do. A good group leader is caring. They make meaning of things. They function at a leadership level and then also create emotional stimulation within the group. Hopefully good emotional stimulation, right? With one another. Okay, what's that look like? Caring. Caring is inviting members to seek feedback as well as support, praise, and encouragement. Seek feedback as well as support, praise, and encouragement of all your group members, right? Leaders express warmth, acceptance, genuineness, and real concern for other human beings in the group. Isn't that what a counselor is? Isn't that what a counselor does? If you have been through the helping skills class, that's one thing we do. We want genuineness. Um, how do I connect with others, right? It's through empathy, all of those things, being authentic. So, an example would be, John, that took so much courage to share your fears of rejection with Susan. So, I say it in an empathetic way. I'm pointing out something that they did, and I'm encouraging them to continue to do that, to reach out. But I'm also telling them, hey, I understand that was hard to do, but man, you did such a good job at it. So I'm encouraging them to be real, authentic, all of those things. Caring, meaning making. Another thing. This is another thing we do as counselors, right? We make meaning of things, right? That happen. Conceptualizing what is going on in the group. Group leaders provide interpretations of meaning making that is going on within the group. I do a lot of this through pictures. That's just the way I do it. Pictures, mental pictures, right? Somebody was saying something to me today in supervision. They were like going, I had this couple, they fought the whole time. I'm like going, hey, for you as the counselor, it wasn't about them fighting the whole time because that's going to happen. What was it about? Well, really, what it was about was countertransference. So what she was saying to me today was, I kind of counseled her a little bit, going, okay, let's make meaning of this. Really, what is the meaning of all of it? I said, it's not about them fighting. It's not about that group, that the couple, because that could be any couple that was coming through. So it wasn't about them. What was it about? So really what it was about was, I feel inadequate. I feel this couple, because of their fighting today, made me feel inadequate, made me feel like I'm not a good counselor, made me feel like whatever. Okay. So we went through that. And so once we kind of established that, she was like going, then I could really talk to her about, hey, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. This couple had been married for 15 years. I said they got 15 years of junk. They should have been here 15 years ago. Okay. You can't take their junk and make meaning of your life. Okay. So it was just all of this encouragement. It was all of this thing saying, you don't base your insides on other people's outsides, right? So you're right where you need to be as a counselor, right? So this person's in their internship, right? Okay. They're not Dr. Joyce Brothers or whoever. They are who they are, right? And they're learning. So anyway, group leaders provide interpretations of meaning making that is going on within the group. So an example would be, I noticed everyone became quiet. It seems like the group might be worried about safety. Maybe there's that person in there that has a loud voice. And so, everybody becomes quiet during that time. What does that mean? I want to make meaning of what is going on so that everybody understands, oh, I'm worried about my safety. So okay, where are you feeling it? Well, I'm feeling it right here. I've got anxiousness. Okay, yeah. So name some other times when you were anxious and you didn't feel safe, right? And then so some real counseling is going on during that time. So you're making meaning. Okay, next one, executive function. Group leaders focus on the administrative tasks of running the group, setting up the group, choosing members. Oh, that's a big one. We're going to go through that. What's the initial phase look like? How do we choose members for the group? Not everybody's going to get along. So, but if you want a certain group that does, maybe we have to interview them and pick people for this group. Okay. I had one of my very first groups I ran was Grief Share. And Grief Share is meant for people who have lost somebody who have passed away. And I said, well, I'll take anybody who comes in. Well, what happened was a lady came in, and so I learned my lesson on this. A lady came in who had lost her husband like 2 weeks prior. Grief share is not, I mean, it's for anybody who's lost people, but it's really not effective for somebody who's lost somebody within that short a time period. So what happened is they came in, they were so dysregulated, all this stuff was going on. So what happened was I just pulled her aside afterwards. I said, hey, you're really not ready for this type of group yet. You need individual counseling to process through this. So I got her into counseling individually. She joined Grief Share 6 months later. It was perfect timing. So it's setting up those kinds of logical rules that will help you as well. Limit setting. How many people in, right, Erica? How many people we want in our group? Limit setting. Time limit, people limit. What are we limiting in here? Managing the time, stopping, blocking. We'll learn what that means. As we go along, inviting people to contribute, eliciting information from people or their thoughts or feelings or so on. Example of that would be, John, would it be okay if I stopped you right there? Would you have, or what you have to say is important, but we're running out of time in today's group. So I don't want to not give you the time to process through or say what's on your mind or what you feel, because I know it's going to be important to others too. So I want to stop you right there, and we're going to pick that up the very first thing next week. Whatever. Perhaps we could start with your concerns the next group. So that's what a good leader does. Allows for that space. Then last, what we were learning about, emotional stimulation. What does that look like, right? Emotional stimulation. The leader emphasizes and facilitates the acknowledgement and the sharing of emotion. The leader emphasizes and facilitates the acknowledgement and sharing of emotion. Nothing better than growing that cohesiveness than people sharing, being vulnerable, emotions out there, right? And here's the other thing is you've got 8 different people in the group. They're not going to do it all at the same time. We're not going to move along in this group at the same time. So we got to take that into consideration. The leader models emotional self-disclosure. Very important. Models self-disclosure while utilizing actions necessary to encourage other members to disclose their emotions. So I'm going to model how to disclose, how to talk about my emotions, my feelings, my thoughts. I'm going to model that. So an example would be, Sharon, when you share that I see tears in your eyes, when you share that and I see tears in your eyes, I am wondering what emotion comes up for you and whether you could take the risk of sharing that with John. I see tears in your eyes. What does it making meaning, right? What does that mean? Why are those tears there? I'm wondering what emotion comes up for you. So we process through that. And then also, can you take that risk of being vulnerable and share that with whoever it is that needs to have that emotion shared with them? So emotional stimulation. The fit between group factors and leadership functions. Okay. Group factors, acceptance and cohesiveness. Um, what is the leadership function for that? Is caring for others, inviting them to open up, all of those things. Guidance and insight. Remember, we talked about that. A guidance and insight could be giving people information, whether it be from the leader or from other members. So, what that is doing is making meaning of something. So, we're always trying to make meaning of something so that people can internalize that, get it. Okay. Interpersonal interaction. That's part of the executive function. So it's not only interpersonal interaction, it's so we're helping people to uh, interact, react, all of those things between each other, not only in our group, but outside a group, hopefully. But that's what a good leader does, is help them to do that. Self-disclosure, catharsis, that is what? It's emotional stimulation, and that's what we're promoting as group leaders for others. We want others to disclose, and we need them to have that cathartic, those cathartic moments with one another or interpersonally or so on. Okay. Another aspect is a multicultural perspective on group work. Okay, what does that look like? So, culture encompasses values of people, belief systems, processes, all of these things. And behaviors, it's the values, beliefs, and behaviors shared by a group of people. So you can have culture. Look at us. We have different cultures here: men, women, Brazilian, right? From Brazil. Maybe not from Jolie. Where are you from?
Raymore, peculiar.
Oh, okay. Did you go to school? Did you go to school out of state?
No, I went to school in Springfield.
Oh, okay. So Springfield. So
I'm out of state.
Ryan, you are?
Yeah, I'm from Massachusetts.
See, okay. So look at like the different cultures. So when did you come here? How long you been?
Uh, Around 2.5 years ago.
So what was it like for you to change cultures like that?
That was fantastic. I hate New England. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's way different. I mean, I bring some of the New England charm, mind you, but like people here are way nicer as opposed to like back there where it's a lot more like uptight and high strung and everybody's like stressed and always very fast paced.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so very different.
So there's different values, beliefs, behaviors, right? So just think about being in a group here in the Midwest where you just said, hey, people are more caring, they're more open, they're more, feels like it'd be easier to create that cohesion rather than in where I came from, the New England states.
Hmm.
So, how about you, Erica? Talk about the difference for you.
Um, I let's see. How can I put this? I kind of live in a bubble because we moved straight into the church. The church brought us.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband would be associate pastor. So we felt super embraced and loved because we had already connection with this church here. The lead pastor used to go to Brazil to teach in our seminary. We received lots of short mission trip groups from this church. So when we arrived, actually, we felt that we are meeting a family because they really loved us and received us super well. And I like the city too. Like I'm in Colombia, I'm not in Kansas, but
Yeah.
like for my son who has special needs, all the therapists and the school staff, all the schools that he have been, they were always loving, and I really had an amazing experience. I would say that the difference culturally that I see, because we had small groups in our church too. My husband was a pastor there too. So in the church setting, I would say that Brazilians are more open, more vulnerable to share their feelings.
Okay.
So I could see this a little bit, the difference, even though we have been doing a good job, like in our small groups, reading some counseling books. Because my husband was your student like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I guess. So he brought some of the books about counseling, and it's been super nice to see people like reading about it and being more vulnerable in smaller groups. Because like Brazilians can talk about their feelings and they cry and they just tell they just meet you 5 minutes ago, you know, the whole story and all the details about their lives. And it's just even like counseling couples, I could see that counseling couples in Brazil when we are doing they are really open right away. Like they just
Yes.
tell everything about what's happening and deep things. But I think it's our culture, and it's more a Latin culture, I would say, probably.
Yes.
And here we saw that people are more private,
Mhm.
reserved, but it's been a nice experience, and we are learning a lot.
That's awesome. Is that
We
Dennis
have been
behind you?
learning all these years.
Is that Dennis behind you?
Yes, Dennis. We were just talking about you. Yeah, he just arrived from ice skating with my son.
Okay, all right. Well, tell him hi. Tell him hi.
Bem that way. Bem that way. Sorry. It was with Tomas. Here's Doug. He's saying hi.
I'm sorry, I'm
Dennis.
messing it up, everything, right?
Hey, brother.
Good to see you, Doug. Good to
You
see you
too.
guys.
Always good seeing you. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much about talking about your culture and everything. So what I heard you say is I felt welcomed here, but the thing is your church already started investing in that culture uh, with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it made it a lot
Yeah.
easier in that aspect, because you had your pastor that would come and all that stuff. So they had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's true.
that's a beautiful thing. So with that culture, it was easier for you to get what do you call it? Acculturated? Is that the word? Is that the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for?
Integrated.
The integrated.
Integrated. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's awesome. Thank you for that. That's good. And this even kind of goes there. Culture is learned in groups. So your church, if you just came there, they wouldn't know anything about that, but it's learned
Yeah.
through your church group. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So culture is learned in groups. Effective group work involves considering the culture of the participants. Think about that. Erica, think about if you're running a group and you have so many different nationalities in it, you have to take in consideration all of those nationalities. How do I blend them? I had a student that was from Japan and in this group class, and I said, well, what kind of group are you going to start? And he's like, I would love to do a marriage group and take that back to Japan when I'm done. I'm like, let's do it. He goes, problem is, they don't like counseling in Japan. And just the culture is just so much different there. Okay. So he had to take into consideration, we were teaching one way here. Well, it was going to be totally different when he got back. So we just had to think about that. So when he did his presentation, it was awesome. He goes, I'm going to do these things, but these things probably won't be as widely accepted. So I'll have to work a lot harder on these concepts, So anyway, know your audience generally is what this is saying is know your audience. Culture, similarities and differences need to be addressed in the group. Okay. So if we have different cultures within the group, it could be um, sex, gender wise, racial wise, nationality wise. It could be so many different things, but we have to address those things so that everybody's on the same page saying, so they're not offended by something or whatever happens, right? So this person from Japan, he had to be very careful not to offend people in the group that he was going to be doing. So okay. Culture and multicultural perspective continued. Be aware of their own personal values, attitudes, biases, assumptions, and prejudices. That could take a long time to go through if you got a group of a lot of different people. So just depending on, what the group is, how far do I have to go into this? How far do I have to know about attitudes, biases, assumptions, prejudices, and all that stuff? But I have to be aware of my own personal values when I'm leading. Okay. What if you're leading a group, you're Christian, but everybody in there's not? Maybe you have Buddhists, you have different types of beliefs, and how do we lead from that? We might not all have the commonality of being Christian. Okay, have a general knowledge about the ways the diverse backgrounds of members may affect the group process. Okay, think through that. And then be able to implement interventions that are appropriate for the life experiences of the members of the group. What type of interventions can I put in place that will help and that are appropriate for these to create meaning, to create better experiences? Okay. Okay. So I wanted to get to this. There's a group in action. We're not, it's an hour long. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I just want to watch maybe 10 minutes of it. So you kind of get, what it looks like to have this group. I think they're at like probably some conference or something. I'm not sure. It looks like they're on a stage or something like that. Let me get this set up. Here it is here. You see how far they're into it. And I got to share my sound with you. Okay. Can you guys see a woman on here?
Yes.
Okay. And it says watch now. Okay. And let me know if you can't hear it. You should be able to hear it, but can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
The film you are about to see was originally filmed during the annual University of North Texas Counseling Conference. One of the
Can you hear
keynote
it?
presenters, Dr. Robert
Hard to
Berg,
hear.
professor of counselor
Yeah,
education,
let's see. I don't know if it's anything on my side I can do. This is all up. I don't know if it's anything I can do on my side. I don't know why. I think it might get louder. Well, just do what you can to hear. I think the group part will be louder.
He made some opening remarks regarding process group counseling and then led a group of volunteers from the audience in a freestanding live process group demonstration. What you will see here is a slightly edited version of that live demonstration. While you may feel that you are intruding in their private lives, remember that several hundred people were there in the audience. Even in the glare of stage lights and the relatively awkward semicircle, you will notice the group moving effectively through a first group encounter.
are you doing? Does that trigger anything for anyone?
Morning, maintaining. Long night.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Oh, well, I'm pregnant, so I'm kind of not sleeping good at night. And I have a 2-year-old that has a really bad cold, and about every 30 minutes, up, down, up, down. So.
Had a rough night.
Yes, to say the least.
Okay. And you bring that into this group experience with you this morning.
Yeah.
And what are you aware of needing here?
I think what I'm dealing with mainly is making career decisions because I am already practicing and deciding on whether or not I'm going to keep practicing or just be a mother, because it is difficult to really tune into other people's problems and concerns when you're just not getting enough sleep and you're focusing on it, you know, it's just, yeah, just a lot. So.
It is. It's a pulling apart.
Right.
I wonder, thank you for sharing, Stacia.
Thank you.
Can anyone else relate to what she was saying? Does anyone have any ideas? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old, and I work full-time as a school counselor and have a private practice. So yes, that shifting of attention and gears is real tough and real tiring and stressful.
You can really understand what she's experiencing. Okay. Mel.
I'm not a parent, but I'm getting married in May, a student, full-time student, and also working. So it's just even trying to find my priorities there, and everything has been very stressful.
What are you doing right now?
I'm a little nervous.
Okay.
It's just being up here in front of all these people, I think.
Okay. And how does your nervousness come out?
I can feel my heart rate. My hands are real sweaty. I get real fidgety.
Okay. And your first name is?
Shelley.
Shelley. Okay. What do you need to help you be more comfortable right now?
I don't know. Maybe a curtain.
Okay. Most of us are aware that they're there. Okay? Let's take a look at them just for a minute. They're all out there. I can appreciate that. What else? What's going on?
Planning a wedding. And it's, I don't think that he's my parents' first choice.
Your first name?
Corey.
Corey. How is that related to tiredness? Help me understand.
Well, last night, tonight's his mom's 50th birthday party, and we're planning a surprise party for her. And he travels. He's gone Monday through Thursday. And so my parents said that he could stay at our house. And so he slept upstairs and I slept downstairs. And I heard my parents fidgeting all morning, and it was loud in our house. And it was different. I thought he'd feel more comfortable being upstairs, and it would be more appropriate for me to be closer to my parents. And so I guess because I wasn't in my surroundings that I normally am.
So it was different, it was full of change, and somehow I'm hearing you had to be responsible for that. You had to...
I like to take responsibility.
I'm sorry?
I like to take the responsibility.
Yeah. But it makes you tired.
Yes.
Oh. Especially when it has to be perfect.
True.
Okay. Tell me about being perfect.
I don't feel I'm a perfect person, but I don't understand why they feel that he isn't probably the right person for me. That doesn't make sense to me. Because there's nothing that, when you meet him, that's bad about him. And so it makes me frustrated. And I guess knowing that they're not going to have a perfect relationship bothers me. So being perfect, to answer your question, is important. Not necessarily me being perfect, but having perfect situations.
Because if I had the perfect situation, then
it would go smoother.
Smooth is good.
Yes.
Give me the picture of how it would be if it were smooth, how you would feel.
Just more relaxed. I wouldn't always feel so tense. I wouldn't feel these bricks constantly on my shoulders.
What's on? Bricks?
Bricks. I use my hands a lot, obviously.
Yes. They're here, the bricks.
Yes.
That feels heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you tired.
Yeah.
Thanks, Corey. Wow. Anybody else tired? Anyone else like to say something? Yes.
I'm tired too. I really understand how you feel, because I think we're very close in ages too. So probably it's that thing of what do you expect from yourself and what your parents expect from yours. Like as a daughter, how you are supposed to be. And I've been here almost for a year. I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I know that the day, I don't know exactly when I'm going home to visit after a year. There is a possibility there that I can go for a couple of weeks at the end of May. I'm not sure. And I know I will have to face what I left. So that's somehow, I know I will make me feel tired when I think about that. And I feel those bricks that you say, because, and I relate this, what you say about career decisions too. Like, I'm going with my own goal, with my own thing, and I know it makes me feel very free and very responsible at the same time because it's my choice and I can feel it. It's like when I was an undergrad, I knew that I was supposed to go to college. My parents wanted me to have a degree, but nobody asked me to do a master's. This is really my vocation. This is really my future, and I relate this with. I'm not gonna get married. It's the last thing I need right now.
Sounds to me like you've got a lot of other things that you have to take care of. You're very proud of what you've done so far.
Oh yes, yes. I'm very happy, but at the same thing, is that happiness with the taste of the challenge, you know. So I know that that sometimes makes me feel tired. But I still choose it because when I'm not tired, it feels so good that I still choose it.
When you were talking about your parents back in Argentina, and you going back there to visit them, you looked up like this and you smiled, and you kind of indicated that there was going to be some anxiety about that.
Yes, it's going to be tough because I know that my first trip it will be when I will let go, finally, something that I'm working on now. It's one part of my life that I will keep as a good experience, but I have to let it go. It's like, it's gonna be when I face the difference, like I will know that the things I left are not there anymore. The life goes on. I will face the last part of this big change in my life. So that's why it makes me anxious. I think that then if I go to visit again, I will get used to it. But this time, there's going to be a lot of my friends got married. So those years, I'm 25, and those years when everything changed so fast.
When you were talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
a different quality came over you. Your face changed. voice softened. You were really into the experience of that and what that's going to mean for you.
Oh, yes. And I know I have to face it. I'm just preparing myself to be ready for the moment. Like, I know it's going to be a lot of emotions, good things, anxiety. Try to preparing for that, but at the same time enjoying this. So it's going to be a good experience, and it's part of my process of growing up.
Is it Maria?
Maria.
Maria? Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did that stimulate anything in anyone else? You had a reaction at one point.
Well, when she was talking about marriage is just not on my mind, I remember at 23, I had no idea that I was going to get married. I mean, I just thought, 30, 35.
Why do you think marriage is not on her mind? What would you guess?
No, it's on her mind. I mean, no. No. Yeah, not that she has someone in mind to marry, but that's part of, I think, not a struggle, but just something that you have to think about as a young woman. When am I planning to get married? And you don't think at such a young age that you are, but it happens that way. And obviously, I mean.
I feel ready. Like, the thing is, I feel ready emotionally to get married. Especially, like, I have a little niece, and when I was in my country, I used to take care of her a lot. So that developed in me, like, they say, well, do I have the maturity to raise a kid and everything? And so I think emotionally, I can bring the support that a little kid needs to grow. So to have a family, to get married, implies a lot of things. Probably that part of me is getting ready, but I know that I'm just in the beginning of my master's. That is important for me, and that probably I prefer to settle down, and also it's a new place for me. So, it's put too much on my shoulders to try to, resolve my professional, emotional life, everything like this.
It's like a big quilt.
It's in my mind. I don't imagine myself without a family. I think I'm very given to, like, just to focus on my career, that's all. But still, my career is very important too. So now I'm giving priority to that.
Right.
I had a couple of reactions to it too. One is that
We are
it is
connected.
hard.
I'll just point out, and I'll be right back with you. We really are connected here because of the perfect thing. I hear a plan. I'd like to have a plan. Go ahead, Carol. What were you going to say?
Well, two things. One is that that's wise in a lot of ways because graduate degrees are very hard on marriages. I think you'll discover it's tough because of the time and the commitment involved. But what I'm impressed with is that you're in this separation process of identity and you're real aware of it, and you're aware that you've got a situation where you can go visit and have an actual time, almost a timetable. It sounds like you've gotten away. A certain cutting off point of this is when I'm going to set myself free. And of course, it's not that, it won't be exactly like that. But just most people during that identity stage, that separation stage, most of us don't have that awareness of it. We don't have that much of a plan for it. So I'm impressed with that. I think that's neat. Prepare yourself for that.
Well, the thing is, like in my country, interdependence is one of those countries where is considered healthy, and so that this separation, individuation process that you start to experience again, not only when you're a kid, but in adolescence, it was very partial in my case. So that was a need that was pushing, and so until I became aware, took a long process, and I can tell that before I came, I was just feeling really, really uncomfortable. It was like I feeling myself in a cage. My parents love me, I love them, but it's those countries where you live with your family until you get married. And and it's a free country with quotation marks. You know, like there is a role for everything. And every place is like that. But he said I was in a searching process, that I was needing to do something for myself to discover more parts of me, especially because I know it's going to give me more tools or make me more skilled, or to work as a counselor in the future, and to be, you know, it's like the more I become aware of myself, the more I do things that I really identify as my needs, the more I will be able to listen. So I say, well, it's just everything goes together, you know, what you love to do and what you need to do as a person.
And you know, when you use those words, everything goes together. I'm just going to take a wild guess right now. Just come off the wall. If it's not right, tell me. I'm feeling like that together is something that you're trying to achieve, that you feel kind of split, that there's this part over here and this part over here, and this part, and you're trying to get those all here. And for you, the way to do that is kind of take one thing at a time, and handle this, and then go on to the next and handle it.
Okay, what do you guys notice in this group? So this is a group of counselors, I think, so, but they're in front of an audience. So they acknowledged the audience, right? Go ahead, Erica.
I was just thinking that I noticed that he is kind of really in charge. Like he's pointing to who will be speaking. And I don't know if, I know that probably there's a style that it's more like free, I would say, that people are just jumping in, interacting more. And it seems to me that he was really in control who will be talking and directing, who will be responding and talking all the time.
Mm-hmm. Is that good or bad?
Maybe it depends of the goal of the group.
Absolutely.
The goal that you have.
Very good. Absolutely. Who else has a thought? What did you see?
I would kind of follow up with that, and that he was very affirmative of like everything that was said, and just even acknowledging people's willingness to speak, which I thought was good.
Yeah. So what's it promote?
He used a lot of the helping skills that the book, that the class that we did, the helping skills.
Yeah.
We could see a lot.
Yeah, that's very good. And the other part is when you encourage others, when you do all those things that he was doing, it does what? It helps people it encourages others to speak. Yeah, very good. So that's, I mean, so as a leader, you're kind of selling too. You're being a salesman of some sorts, like selling the group, and this is a good thing. If you do this, this is what you're going to get out of it, right? It's good.
I noticed that he used immediacy quite often. Like there were quite a few times where he was like, I noticed that you kind of you put your hands right here, and you said bricks, like there was weight. Or he said to the Argentinian gal, like, I noticed that your body kind of moved like that. I couldn't quite catch what words he was saying, but like he's very much like calling out what's happening at the moment and making him feel seen at that moment as well, of like, okay, this is what, can you help me understand like what that's about a little bit, and very much like in that immediate interaction. And then one time he did it to the Argentinian girl, and then he jumped over to the girl he asked the question to first and was like, hey, so she said this thing. What do you think about this? Because I saw you have a reaction to what she said. Why did you have a reaction to what she said? So I thought that was interesting too. Because I feel like for me internally, I would have been like noting that, but the nature to just be like calling that out and being like, oh, I saw your reaction. What did you mean by that? Is kind of interesting.
That's so good. That's a great catch. Excellent. What
I
else?
thought it was cool how he was like really trying to help people find other people with connections and like felt like that helped people be more vulnerable because everyone that said something, there was another person who like felt a similar way or could relate in some specific way.
Very good. So what's that build?
Why the words like blanking, but like the camaraderie of them, like cohesiveness. And
Cohesion.
like they all felt accepted too, and like I don't know, like they were all part of it and had something to build on together.
So that's a great catch too. There is like so he was doing great leadership skills and building cohesion quickly within that group. Because without it, you're not going to get any participation, right? So he was doing a good job. I mean, he understands, I have to do this. This is the first thing I've got to do so that I get 100% participation in it. And he was and maybe you call out people in a nice way of ones who may be maybe not participating as much or maybe more quiet, if you will, introverted, and encouraging them to speak and making it safe for them to do so. Lots of work goes into this, doesn't it? A lot of work into doing groups. What else did you guys see? So what you kind of witnessed is the initial stage. They're all counselors. They'll probably move faster into the working stage and so on. But yeah, I'm sorry about the audio so light, but then that was a pretty good model of a guy leading the group. And another thing is how they have things situated. Of course, they were on stage, so it wasn't in a whole circle, but you had the leader and the co-leader cross from each other. So we'll learn why you do that in upcoming, but you want to have each other sitting across from each other. There's a lot of reasons for all that, and we'll go through that in one of these weeks coming up. So, any other thoughts? Erica, were you going to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing good? Okay. All right. Okay, so good job tonight. Thank you. Guys, this is awesome. I love this group class because it just gives you just new dynamics of and counseling, and you learn how to do individual, you learn group, you blend, you do all of these things, and it's just so different than just having normal conversations with somebody else, right? There's so many things to do. Okay, so we'll end tonight at this right now, and then next week, what it's going to look like is I've got two separate groups, so we'll split you all into threes, and we've got one group that's going to lead this kind of emotion focused therapy for counselors. What's it like to become a counselor? What are you struggling with in school, life, all of those things, and being able to process through those things. And then the other group is kind of doing along the same lines in a different way. What's it like to be a student? Maybe even, what's it like to be in a Christian school versus, maybe another school? What's it all like, right? So you're going to be doing a lot of processing what it means as a student emotionally and so on. But they'll lead you through those things. So we'll have two different groups. So you'll get to experience both of them. So we'll do 3 weeks of one, 3 weeks of the other. So you get the dynamics of different leaders, different programs, different curriculums, things like that too. I wish we had 16 weeks. I wish we did. And I know you guys are glad that you don't, but I wish we did have a lot longer time to be able to process through things. But you guys will have plenty of opportunities to run your own groups and things like that too. So, okay. Well, let me pray real quick, and same time next Thursday, we'll meet and we'll start. What we'll do is we'll go through an hour and 15 minutes of lecture, and then the rest of the time together as in your groups. So I'll pray us out, and if you have anything that you have any questions or about, email me, call me, whatever you need to do, and be glad to help out. Okay, appreciate y'all. All right, let me pray real quick. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you so much for this group, or this group of people that want to learn more about themselves, learn more about the dynamics of group counseling and how to interact with others and how to lead a group successfully, Lord. But we know that all of this is that we're building is centered around you, Lord. We could do none of this without the Holy Spirit in the room, Lord, taking control and working on our hearts and the hearts of others, Lord. Lord, I just thank you for this time that you gave us, this tool of Zoom as well, that you gave us, that this technology that can bring us all together from the various points of where we're at, Lord. And we just thank you for helping us and allowing us to use this time wisely, Lord. And we just pray that you keep us safe this next week, Lord, and help us in school, help us to learn more about how we can help others. And I just thank you for the hearts of each and every individual here that you've given to them, that they want to be servants of others and help others. Lord, we just thank you for that. Lord, we just love you, and we just thank you for all this that you've given to us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Anybody have any questions or anything?
No.